This is Ian Flynn of the Sonic Comics, and you are watching Megabeatman's True Blue Reviews.
Greetings everyone! Welcome to the final part of Sonic and Mega Man Worlds Unite. Well, it's been a long journey, and it's about to come to an end. Some of you are probably saying, thank goodness. I admit, it felt like at times the crossover dragged. Before we look at the finale, let's recap what happened last time. The United Army has recruited video game heroes and some villains to stop Sigma once and for all. When it seemed like Sigma was finally going down, it's revealed that the giant body was actually a cocoon and the deadly butterfly has emerged. With Sigma wiping the floor with everyone, Sonic and Mega Man utilized the Chaos Emeralds to become super. Meanwhile, Drs. Eggman and Wily were sneaking around Sigma's base with Xander, who has the power to change clothes with each appearance. Must be his magic eye. They're heading for the Master Engine, with Xander having an ulterior motive. So let's get this ending started. The part begins with Sigma gloating that he's close to becoming a god, and that Sonic and Mega Man can't win against him. Sonic and Mega Man basically tell Sigma to piss off, and the final battle begins. There is some bad news. Nicole's been monitoring the environment, and thanks to Sigma meddling with the Genesis portals, realities are collapsing, which means even if Sigma's defeated, there's still a big problem. X has everyone prepared to evacuate. Meanwhile, Eggman, Wily, and Xander reach the Master Engine. As Eggman and Wily plan to recreate reality in their image, essentially doing the same thing from the previous crossover, Xander wonders what to do next since apparently he's been following visions he's had throughout the entire crossover. Back to the battle, Super Sonic swiftly hits Sigma while Super Mega Man goes a bit overboard with a Chaos-powered charge shot. But hey, it hits Sigma. And oh Sonic, always joking about the situation. Sigma of course survives and attacks using purple blast shaped like his head. However, thanks to the doctors, Sigma's no longer feeding on world energy, which means it's time for the Golden Boys to go to town. Sigma's all, how can this be? And so on and so forth. With one final attack, Sigma's finally destroyed, with his final words being, I am a god. Actually, let's go back a little bit here. Just before they struck the final blow, Super Sonic and Super Mega Man said these words right here. You know, they sound pretty familiar, don't they?
Too bad it's all over. For you!
Close enough. As Nicole pointed out earlier, reality's getting screwy. Sally wants everyone to return to their worlds of origin, but they want to stay and save as many people on this world first. Some of the more powerful ones try to close the Genesis portals without success. So it's time for the Chaos Control Reset solution. Both Sonic and Mega Man initiate it, and it doesn't work. Reality's just too screwed up at this point. Soon the Genesis portals themselves collapse, and the heroes are stranded. Back to the doctors, they finally gain control of the Master Engine, only for Xander to pull a gun on them. At least this one's explained, unlike his clothes. Anyway, Xander supercharges on Master Engine energy in order to open an eye portal back to the point where Sigma's about to enter Sonic's world. He plans on stopping Sigma at this point. The doctors warn Xander about mucking around with space and time, but Xander doesn't listen and blasts Sigma before he can enter the Genesis portal.
Time paradox!
That's right, we have our reset button. We go back to Mega Man's world in the year 21XX. X is confused as to what happened to Sigma. He thinks he shot him, but we know better. Zero and Axel arrive to inform X that Vile's been taken care of thanks to some weird guy. I think we all know who this weird guy is. So yeah, the future world of X is at peace. For now. Everyone on Sonic's world is fine. Sonic himself checking in on Shadow and Team Dark. And yes, they are alive and well. Not to mention Sky Patrol itself is intact. Eggman himself is on his death egg. After checking inventory, Orbot asks if Eggman plans to invade the Lost Hex. Eggman decides to put those plans on hold for the time being and decides to focus on fixing the big world first. On Mega Man's world in 20XX, Wily's back in the company of the mysterious Mr. X. This dialogue here between the two does clue us in on who Mr. X really is. Mr. X leaves Wily, saying that he has work to do tomorrow. Rock returns to Light Labs with the supplies needed to fix up the place. I should note that it's implied that Sonic, Eggman, Wily, and Rock have partial memories of the crossover, at least enough to acknowledge their counterparts by name. Next, we head into the Sonic Boom universe, in which Styx is telling her friends what happened during the crossover. Oh, and these two. They are having a severe case of PTSD. So yeah, Styx figures everyone got sent back to their worlds and have no memory due to the time paradox. And I'm guessing Styx is a fan of Doctor Who based on this line. Anyway, Styx also mentions that Genesis portals still exist, and that they can still lead to worlds that haven't been discovered yet, and figures there's some sort of nexus in the center of these worlds. And our final shot of this issue, and the crossover, is an open Genesis portal showing a world surrounded by other worlds and other Genesis portals. I'm going to assume that this is the nexus Styx spoke of, and it leaves the door open to more crossovers, which I hope we don't go through for a long, long time. Well, that was an ending. Before I talk about the issue itself, I should note something involving the title names in the crossover. Take the title names from the 12 main issues, not the battle books, and look at the first letter of the first word. Yeah, it's nothing major, but it's a clever gag by the writer. Let's talk about the final fight. Admittedly, it's a bit rushed. But hey, we're dealing with 20 pages of story and things need to be wrapped up quickly. However, I did like it was Sonic and Megaman that finished off Sigma here. Now X-fans, before you sharpen your weapons and come after me, hear me out. It was Sigma that orchestrated the events that led to Sonic and Megaman getting roboticized in the first place. Sure, the Doctor suggested the idea and pulled the switches, but if Sigma wasn't around, none of this would have happened. And we'll get to that in a moment. Also, there's the fact that Sigma's screwing up Sonic and Mega Man's world, so again, I like the fact that the two Golden Boys finished him off. Next, we have all of reality collapsing thanks to Sigma's mucking with the Genesis portals. I kinda like how the guest characters tried to help, but at the same time, it's kinda hard for me to sympathize with these guys. Sure, there are panels like this, but we haven't got a chance to get to know them in the context of the comic. Plus, there's the fact that we never got resolution on them. Then again, they were brought in late, so again, we haven't had a chance to develop a relationship with these characters. What I also liked is how Chaos Control did not save the day this time. Reality was too screwed up for this to work. What ultimately saved Reality was Xander tricking the Doctors so he can gain enough power to stop Sigma in the first place. Some of you are thinking, how could a gun stop Sigma in virus form? Master Engine Enhancement? Sonic fans might see this resolution resembling an ending from a certain game. The game in question? Sonic 06. For those who don't know, at the end of that game, the God Monster of the Week, Solaris, is on the verge of destroying time and space. Sonic, along with Shadow and Silver, went super to stop it. Sonic and the human character Princess Elise end up in the past, where Solaris was just a tiny flame. Elise figures if she blows out Solaris while it's a flame, it will never exist, and the events of Sonic 06 will never happen. So she does. It's pretty much what's happening here. Xander appearing into the beginning of Part 1 and preventing Sigma from leaving his time. Thus, Worlds Unite technically never happened. When you think about it, it kinda makes Xander the true hero of the crossover. For those who are hoping that the old Sonic universe would be restored, sorry to say that those panels here prove that the new universe is here to stay. Also, it seems Team Dark did die in Part 4, and was saved thanks to the time paradox reset. Fans of Shadow and Company are not going to be happy about this. Eggman not going to the Lost Hex right away. This will probably set up the inevitable Lost World adaptation sometime after the Unleashed adaptation. Eggman not going to the Lost Hex will more than likely alter the events of Sonic 272 and Sonic Universe 75, slightly. From Sonic and Company's perspective, it'll likely be the same. But from Eggman's point of view, he'll probably be chilling on the Death Egg this time. Going to the Mega Man side for a bit, first there's the future. With no Sigma around, the Maverick Hunters just finished their mission here. The dialogue from Axel implies that Silver is here. More than likely what will happen is Silver's probably going to close the Genesis portals in the area and be on his merry way. In the past, the dialogue between Dr. Wily and Mr. X pretty much implies that Mr. X is an older Xander Payne. I pointed out this possibility back in my Mega Man 49 review. It's also implied between these four characters that they partially remember the crossover. It makes sense because they were near the focal point along with Mr. X/Xander. Though this will make things awkward when the Mega Man characters reach the point where they enter Worlds Collide, the first crossover. This doesn't explain how Styx remembers the crossover, presumably along with Comedy Chip and the Beaver. I'm gonna say Sonic Boom and move on. As much of a load these two were, I did like their expressions of being shell-shocked veterans. When I see the Boom versions of the Sonic cast right here, I'm thinking wasted opportunity. My final score for this issue is a 7. I enjoyed the art for starters, and I expected a reset, but not like this, so I approve. And this time around, there's some actual resolution, unlike the first crossover in which the story just stopped. However, the issue felt a bit rushed, and I really didn't get a sense of danger because, again, I saw the reset coming. And so, this crossover has come to a close. I'll be making a separate video in which I will talk about the crossover as a whole. But if I were to sum it up briefly, this crossover's been underwhelming, cluttered, had a lot of executive meddling, but it still have plenty of enjoyable moments. Anyway, it's back to business for the comics as Sonic and company work to fix their broken planet in his main book. We learn more about Silver's new future in Sonic Universe, have one more go around with the Boom characters before their series ends, and build up the Mega Man universe before that series goes on hiatus. So until next time everyone, have a good day, and be safe. Zero's line in this panel: "Truer words have not been spoken, my friend."